What direction did you go? North, south, east?
A little above Long Beach, if you know where that is.
Yep, I know where that is. When I was in the Navy, we would go up to Long Beach to onload and offload arms. That's the only time I was ever really there. Yeah, that would be a long. Well, it's not like a long distance drive, but you got to navigate a lot of traffic and stuff.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a long distance for me. It used my truck's whole battery, got down to 20 miles just rolling in the driveway. So it was as far as I could go.
And your what battery? You said your truck's battery?
Yeah, my truck's battery.
Wow. Your truck runs on a battery? That's impressive.
I do a lot of driving, and I pretty much make the truck payment and the money I save on fuel.
I see. Wow. I'm sharing my screen on YouTube, and it's my Twitter page, and I'm watching that video that I made today. The one with the B-Roots calling for the biggest hockey stick we've ever seen. That was a fun video when I found that video of the space shuttle launching and put it at the very end. I wish all my videos could be as fun as that one was to make. And then not only was it enjoyable to make, but it has, let's see, over 1,000 views, 1,000 impressions in 4 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Did you happen to watch B-Roots' YouTube today?
No, I didn't.
I only watched the beginning because someone told me to watch it, but he did a cool little montage of pretty much him pTGC for the last year, to where like when he first called it super early, and he, just throughout the year he had a couple days where he like said like, hey, this one's going to run, and he kind of clipped them all together, and then like obviously boom, you see the chart where it is today. So that was pretty cool that he kind of built that montage to show people how early he started talking about pTGC.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, it's good for us. It's good for him. You should totally make use of stuff like that for your marketing, and it benefits us and it benefits all of us. So I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, it definitely shows the journey, because we're almost to a year now, and it's been a journey from pTGC and PulseChain in general.
Yeah.
To the next year.
Yep, I'm gonna make a note to look that up.
It's literally right after their intro, so it's really easy to find. I don't know the timestamp, but just go past their intro and the first clip.
Okay, cool. Well, I've enjoyed watching my deck screener. The coin pulled back a little bit today, and I've seen this, been watching it over the last, because I think we started our run up about the middle of August, and I'm always impressed with that it advances forward, and then there'll be a little bit of a sell off, and then it just keeps going. I was telling my wife this, that I'm happy it's not. I mean, we call it parabolic, but it's not like meme coin parabolic, where I'm really concerned that people are really, going to seriously start taking profits. It just goes up, maybe 5, 10, 15%. People take some profits, settles down, And after 6-8 hours, it starts continually, it starts where it left off and just keeps rising. And it's impressive. Of course, I don't know that I've ever watched a coin over this long a period of time as intensely as this one. But it goes up, pulls back a little bit, goes up a little bit further, pulls back a little bit. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, the classic, it's a pretty impressive run in my opinion.
Well, if you actually think about it, it's just like, I don't know of another project with the amount of liquidity tied with PulseX, tied with pHex, tied with Ink, tied with Pulse. And I think people just honestly don't understand the metrics of the power of liquidity and how you're saying, like, we take 2 steps up, a couple people take profits, it boosts down, but as the market, as we saw it like today, Pulse moving up about 4 to 6%, in relative with Bitcoin and Ethereum moving up. Plus, we have PulseX moving up the same kind of percentages, Ink moving up the same kind of percentages. So, like, when we talk about, like, when people do take profits and all that stuff, it's just like the chart's just going to move up without you. Like, see you later.
Mm-hmm. Where is Bitcoin today?
Bitcoin had a little bit of a rally today, a little bit.
Looks like it went from 54 to 56. And Ethereum, I think the other day was at 22. Now it's at 23 something. So yeah, that's a good shift. A shift to the correct direction.
Yeah. On a side note, one thing that happened today in pTGC is there was a LP ad with pHex, and then it was burnt. It was roughly 100 million Pulse worth. At these levels, obviously, that's not a crazy amount of money, but at higher levels, once PulseChain starts running and pTGC keeps running more, those little chunks that are happening quite often start to add up, right? So we're just growing that liquidity pair just every single week. Hex, PulseX, Pulse, and the stronger we get to make it down at these low levels, as soon as the Pulse ecosystem does start to rally, we're just that much stronger. So I love seeing that we're running up, and then while we're running up, we're also bolstering up our LPs with awesome projects like pHex, PulseChain, PulseX, Ink, all the RH tickers in general.
How many pHex did we pair with today?
Wow, this is off of memory. I glanced at it. I think it was roughly 400.
It's like 465, I want to say.
So 465,000, something like that.
And I think it's altogether now with pHex alone is 8 million pHex in that pool. So.
Right on. Well, pHex rallied a bit today too. It's up 8.5%.
Yeah, that's good. I definitely think we got that pairing in before that rally. So that pairing worked in our favor today already.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, overall it was a good weekend. I think we had some green yesterday. We've had a lot of volatility, which is good. New people are coming in, some older people are going out, profits are getting taken, new buyers are coming in, and we move on and keep pushing upward. And the machine just does its thing. And that's all we can ask for is the code just doing what the code does.
Right. Well,
to anyone in here, if anyone wants to come up or have has any questions or wants to talk about what they like about pTGC, what attracted them to pTGC, if it's just the aliens, if it's the tech, or if it's the green candles. We don't care which one it is, but love to hear what brought you over here.
And what brought me over here was Crypto Kindness posting on Twitter a screenshot of Access Alive's membership in the pTGC chat. That was quite a bit, earlier this year. And I had already heard about pTGC from Crypto Kindness, but you get to the point where in crypto where you kind of get wore out. Not only are you running out of fiat, but you kind of get wore out like, oh man, another project that I have to learn that sounds complicated, and you got to dig into it and learn. And you just get kind of tired. So I had heard about it from Kindness and at least one other, maybe two other content creators. But when he posted that screenshot of Access Alive on Twitter, that pushed me over the edge. I aped in and then figured it out later. I bought, jumped in the chat on Telegram and learned what I was holding. That's how I got in.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing is sometimes you have to hear it a couple times, especially when you're getting it through social media. It's maybe easier if it's a friend directly reaching out to you and saying like, hey, you want to talk about this real quick, or let me tell you about that. Then you can kind of maybe hear it once and get interested in it. But if you're just gathering it from social media, you have to see it 3, 4, 5 times, usually before you start researching it. Because the honest truth is there's just so much noise. And when there's so much noise, so much hay, it takes a little bit to, go and find that needle or block out the noise and really start listening. And I feel like when people start to listen and really want to open up their minds to what we have here, I won't lie, I've yet to really get like any feedback that isn't impressed. So it's good when you actually can get someone to want to listen, because not a lot of people just don't want to listen. They want to put their blinders on and that's it. But when they want to listen, I feel like they're always pretty happy with the result of learning and getting educated on the system. But on top of that, that's just what comes with it. You sometimes have to put the blinders on because there is noise. There's copycats, this, that, everything in between. As you have momentum, people try to take it. So when you finally get the energy to start to listen, you see, okay, this is a unique project with product market fit, longevity. I think we've had really good positive results from that. It seems like everyone's pretty happy with the product and the code and what we're doing here. So,
yeah. And I think that the same is true for many people in this during this part of the cycle. I think a lot of people are just DCA'd out, and they've been in so many projects and had to read so many white papers. They're just like, can we just get on with the bull run? I don't have the patience to get into another project. I think there's a bunch of people like that out there. I don't blame them, but I also think that this project is a diamond in the rough. And I'm glad that I'm thankful that I took the time to get educated and learn about this one, because of all the tokens that I hold in my portfolio, this one, and I'm not kidding, this one gets me excited more than any other. And I'm going to tell you, I have some tokens in my portfolio that have actually performed better than this one. That's not FUD. That's just a fact. But ask me which one I'm more excited about. It's this one right here, because I know how it works. And it has longevity built into it. And it's built on a pulse on a network that is a third below. It's like would you put that's 300% below sacrifice rate? That hasn't even been barely up above sacrifice rate yet. And when Pulse starts to move, this little token that has been performing against Pulse very consistently since October when it was launched, this little token is, in my opinion, this is not financial advice, but this thing's gonna fly, man. In my opinion, I hope I'm right. I mean, like that video I posted on Twitter today, B Root's calling for the biggest hockey stick we've ever seen. He said against Pulse, he made that very clear that he thinks that this thing is going to hockey stick against Pulse. Well, I'll be happy for that. As long as Pulse Network performs, this token is going to, in my opinion, perhaps outperform. And we know that the Pulse chain has a founder that has an extreme desire and ability to win. And his network is going to do well, I believe, especially if we get a good solution to the SEC case.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people always talk about is RH. But personally, I think we're going to do very, very well with or without him. Obviously, we prefer with him, and that's what's beautiful about this machine is as a really small community, we're just putting our feet in the sand and saying, we're here and we're going to start building, and and I think our chart shows for it, and that's important. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the interesting thing about that is when you look at like how the machine is built and you really study it, the machine isn't really on yet. Like it's on, it's idling, or it's in first gear, but you really want to see the machine in fifth gear. And that fifth gear is when the blockchain starts to get adoption, when there's more volume over here, when there's more volatility over here, because that's how our machine is designed. So when that time happens, it's just crazy to think about how this could actually perform on this blockchain with all the things we talk about every day all lined up. The deflationary supply, the increasing price, the fact that you're getting more shares of the token with every single trade, with it decreasing with every single trade. The fact that we have huge liquidity pools with the tokens that we love, RH tokens, PDI. The fact that the multiplying X's theory is working, or it mathematically works perfectly. It's just not a lot of people are educated on it. The facts are we can do a 10x on PulseChain, and PulseChain can do 100x. What's that equal? 1,000x for our team. Our team can win big. And then once we win big, there's actually reason to stay in the system. Most people don't try to think through all these things of once we win big, why do we stay in the system? What incentivizes me to stay in the system? What incentivizes my fellow community members to stay in the system? It's all in our code. Even as things as simple as the reflection, like there is technically even an encouragement to bring new users in, because every new user that comes in, a portion of their buy gets distributed to you, gets distributed to the burn address, gets added to LP. Like it's not a lot, but there's a little bit of a referral system built into the code as well.
Yes.
And no one really talks about a lot of those metrics all playing into each other. And then obviously we don't even need to get into the fact that we're earning all this APR and all this deflationary, these burnt tokens, adding to LP off of the market doing what the market does, off of us being tokenized market making, letting the market move up and down, and us bringing that value back to a singular asset that we actually all see longevity and value in. And as we keep holding this price up, that makes the price of the tokens worth more, which makes the liquidity pools worth more, which then makes it so that our bots have to move more money and more money, which then in turn pays you more APR and buys and burns your tokens even faster. So everyone continues to get rewarded for being good actors. You know, when you really start thinking about it all starts to add up, and it's on top of just being on the most decentralized blockchain that I know exists. When you are building something so decentralized with burnt liquidity that's a trustless system, you also need to make sure what you built on is trustless as well. And that's personally one of the big reasons why I think PulseChain is so awesome. If you build a trustless protocol, but you build it on a blockchain that's not trustless, what's the point? If you're putting all your liquidity in dexes that aren't trustless, what's the point? You know what I mean? If you don't have a strong foundation, how do you expect to build the building as big as you want to build it? You need to start with the strong foundation, and, you know, thank RH right there. He gave us the best foundation to start on.
Right. Grandpa Pulse on the chat says he thinks pTGC is a decent chance at a 1000x this cycle. And then he comments, he says, I bought in at around 0.45 pTGC per 1 PLS. And I was like, and I've been meaning to look this up anyhow. I was like, I wonder where I bought. Sure enough, I got in right at about maybe a little bit less, about 0.32 pulse per pTGC, or pTGC per pulse. I get that mixed up. But boy, it's come a long way since. So it's essentially in pulse terms. If I look at, today it's 2.333 divided by 0.3176, which is the middle of February, 17th of February, 3176. That's a 7x in pulse terms. Wow. Okay.
And really, the honest truth, Banana, is in a down market, it is really hard to move against Pulse. Really hard. You barely see tokens ever moving against the gas token in a down market, because usually money flows to the gas token in a down market because that's the safe place to stay.
Oh, right.
But what we're seeing, people are actually flowing to us as the safer place to stay, just due to our tokenomics. Usually after you see a gas token or a blockchain, the bigger ones usually run first, and then the money flows into the alts. This happens,
right.
Usually Bitcoin goes first, then Ethereum goes, and then the alts go. So the fact is that we're actually running before the market. This is obviously no guarantee of the future, but based on the past and other tokens out there, and based on our past as well, what you see normally is the blockchain will start to run, and then once people get into profits on the gas token, they then start to diversify that gas token into the altcoins and start playing more with the speculative because they're in green. They're playing with house money.
Right. And all of that makes perfect sense and is impactful. But there's more, because where are people finding profits on the Pulse network? If they're taking profits in any token, where are they taking profits from? The one that's running. And the one that I'm aware of that's running is pTGC. And we know that people have been taking profits. So while they're aping into this token instead of the network token, there are other people taking profits from this token because it's the only one moving in the upward direction.
100%. Usually people take profits from the thing they're green on, not from the thing they're red on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Coach. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to point out two things. We're almost at 3 million transactions with pTGC. So that's a great accomplishment. And if you really think about that in terms of a tax token, that is literally almost impossible, kind of like on Solana or on Ethereum, because it's the way it's built out and structured. You can't like miss out on those opportunities. And then secondly, if you think about how like Pulse started running January 8th to March 8th, in consistency of like kind of like the overall market, the liquidity pool in ratio with in like the Pulse pool in V1, I think the number in that liquidity pool is going to surprise people once Pulse gets back to where it was at when it was like on March 8th. I don't think people do not understand how much liquidity is going to be just with Pulse alone.
Somebody posted in the Telegram chat today that, we're on our way to being 1-to-1 with Hex.
Yeah, all we can do is just keep climbing along, just like we've been doing for the last 12 months, is keep educating, keep informing, keep bolstering up our LPs, keep letting the code do its code thing, and buying and burning the tokens, and making the tokens that we all love and we all hold grow more valuable. Because that's what we want. We want what we hold to be more valuable, and we want technically more of them in our wallets. And that's what the code's designed to do every single day with every single transaction.
We're literally a 50x from being at parity with Hex. I don't know how long that's going to take, but I think that'll be worth noting when it happens. So the volume today, I don't know if you guys have been watching secretobank.com, but I mean, I watched the buys a little bit on the Telegram, and I wouldn't say, actually, I wasn't in the Telegram a lot today, but my impression was that there wasn't it didn't look like a lot of volume. But when I went to Secreto Bank, it's $150,000 in volume today. Saturday, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, we had 250,000. But before maybe last Thursday, I can look at my records, we didn't have days in the hundreds of thousands in volume. But now we're having them. We had $100,000 day on September 4th, 64,000 on the 5th, and the 6th and 7th were both in the hundreds of thousands, and then today. So it's like we broke through something, and now we're really cranking out what's exciting about the volume is the yield that we get. It's like one thing that's made an impression on me in the last couple of days is the price can stay level, but if the volume is high, like if people are buying and selling in a tight range and they're just kicking up that volume, it just means more yield for our wallets.
Yeah, it's not even only the yield though. It's also the buy and burn. So if we have tons of volume, right, but price isn't going up, there is actually sells going on the thing is our smart contract is buying out those people. So we have now less hands, and we want tokens to be in the hands of the community, of course. But the thing is, if it gets sold into the LP pool, and then our smart contract just buys and burns that same sell within that day, and it gets moved over to the dead address where it can never be sold into the market again, that's a pretty positive place for it to be. Bought off the market, sent to the dead address. And that's just happening, not even only on high volume days, but low volume days, on down days, up days. It doesn't matter what day.
Right.
And then also adding to the LP as well. The thing I started noticing is, so a week ago, the RH tokens, pretty much everything we were tied to, there was barely any volume and barely any volatility. So our system runs on this volume and volatility. As soon as the volume and volatility of the chain picked up, our token started moving. And why is that? It's because our token runs on volume and volatility of the network. That is the gas to our machine. So if no gas is getting poured into the machine, it's going to sit there idle, but it's not going to be running revved up. And as soon as a little bit of volume and volatility, like even right now, what PulseChain has is nothing compared to a blockchain. The volatility and volume is very, very low. Let's imagine what it could be in the future. If our machine is running at these levels, at this amplitude of PulseChain, think about on the way to, and I hate shooting numbers out this because it gets people too excited, but let's say PulseChain running up 100x. Think about the volume and volatility from here to there and factor in Hart's law to that and factor in our liquidity pools growing by 100x. Imagine looking on Secreto Bank and seeing the volume of those days. I think it's, we're obviously getting jazzed about $200,000 in volume, but I think that's just a small glimpse into the future of what this protocol can actually do.
But we've already seen what this how much or volume that actually can take place. We've had $1 million days in all liquidity pools during February and March. So we've already had that occur and happen, but now we've strengthened those liquidity pools. I don't even know how much amount, or I think the number is about $150,000 to $200,000 into those liquidity pools. So if you really understand that, it's just what's going to happen on those kind of days moving future.
And like you were saying, Coach, that was those dates you gave. That's obviously when PulseChain was a little bit more up, right?
Yeah, that was back in February and March, and everything was. But those are the things that are going to occur once what you're saying, we're only in first gear during these down times, and it's just once more and more people understand, more and more holders come into the market, the more and more onboards we bring to PulseChain, which is just a great indicator that we've done everything, not perfection, because we're not perfect, but we are doing very well. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah, and just bringing people to PulseChain. I've actually witnessed a lot of wallets recently that they've made a decent sized buy. I'm like, okay, where did this come from? And I've seen the funds literally just come right over the bridge and right into pTGC. And, obviously we're a small fish in a big pond, but people are bridging over to PulseChain specifically to interact with our protocol. And these are just small steps in the right direction. I strongly believe in the future, this will be happening all the time with large amounts, because pTGC is specifically, or unique, I guess would be the right word, unique to PulseChain. There is nothing like this on any other blockchain. I've yet to have anyone even bring up anything close. So if anyone wants to participate in this token that's locked to all RH's amazing tokens, you have to come to PulseChain. And hopefully that helps bring adoption over here. You know, good projects are going to do that. Green camps are going to do that.
Yep. So a $2,000 volume day would be, that would be $1,000 of pTGC bought off the market and burnt. And
100,000. I think you said 2,000.
yeah, 200,000. So $200,000 volume would be $1,000 bought and burnt, and $2,000 sent to holders and stakers.
It would be $4,000 in rewards and reflections.
Oh, okay, right.
And then $4,000 to the DAO, which does LP ads and buy and burns, and then $1,000 of LP ad with PLS and pTGC automatically via the smart contract, and then locked into a smart contract.
Yep.
That's just one day at the bottom of PulseChain.
Mm-hmm.
Flash forward a year from now, where PulseChain's going to be, where we're going to be.
We might be on the downward side of a bull run at that point.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to really know. But more what I was getting at is, even if you've looked at other blockchains, I think B-Roots has brought up Matic. It sat for like a year and a half at like this low level,
Yep.
and then it popped up in the bull market. But when it consolidated back down, it didn't go back to the levels that it was when it was first out. It actually settled like 20x higher. So just imagine settling 20x higher than we are right here in an entire bear market, being deflationary, earning APR, adding to liquidity all over again for 3 years for the next bull run with all the trusted stuff.
Yeah.
20x this size. So that would be all of our liquidity pools up 20x. That would be our, you know, obviously depending on each person's profit taking and whatnot, but let's say, you know, your position left over would be up 20x, and you'd be earning on that 20x, you know, which is nice. And then obviously the buy and burns this whole time, just getting the whole machine primed up so it's relevant the next cycle. And that's another thing that most people have never figured out. They can get a token going for this cycle, but what about the next cycle? What about the next cycle? No one's trying to solve these problems to make their token relevant forever. But I honestly believe that pTGC has the mechanics put in place to be relevant the next cycle, because all throughout the bear, it's just doing what it does. And we know what it does.
It's a machine. It's on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
We love.
And even in a bear market, the market still goes up and down.
Yes.
Even in a bear market. Of course, there'll be a blow up top and a consolidation. You know, you can't get around stuff like that. pTGC probably has one of the best chances due to its mechanics, is the honest truth. I would like to hear an argument against that. I'd say we have the best chances to work against that based on our mechanics, but we are going to fight that, just like we're fighting a PLS consolidation right now. We're fighting it quite well. You know, I think we're all pretty impressed with the machine doing what the machine does. But we're going to fight these battles all the time. Cards going down and we want to go up. But I do feel confident that our mechanics and our code is very strong. And it gives us as a community a really strong chance. And who wants to go into battle, or who wants to fight a fight with bad tools? At least we know we got good tools in our hands, which is awesome.
Yep. Got to have good tools.
Gotta have good tools. None of that Harbor Freight stuff.
Yeah. You would know that.
You get what you pay for.
That's right. Oh man, you get what you pay for in crypto too. Yeah. Wow. Well, I was just while you were waxing so eloquently, I was looking at some of the user stats that I've been keeping record of that I haven't updated in a couple months at least. But we increased, so between the end of June and today, we'll just call that July and August, we increased by 203 stakers, 754 holders, and 190 Telegram members. Of course, some of those Telegram members are probably scammers that need to be culled, but nevertheless, we're seeing quite a bit of growth. The biggest growth month that we had was actually it was a week. It was that last week of February. Yeah, right before Pulse topped out. And except for holders, we did better than that last week of February. Well, in the 2 months, July and August. The bottom line is, I think we're seeing an increase in users. And I think everybody that's been in the Telegram chat can attest to that. There are clearly more people in the system.
Yeah, I've seen our holders increasing in the last week a lot faster than it was. And that's really awesome because there isn't really new users coming to PulseChain right now. So, you know, there is people still in PulseChain that we can get the attention of, and it's showing for it. These aren't new people besides, you know, the one or two that we're witnessing, like literally coming across the bridge. That doesn't even mean they're a new user of PulseChain. That just means they brought in new capital because it's a better move to bring in fresh USD or a stable coin right now comparatively to obviously trading your RH tickers currently because they're down. If you have the opportunity to bring in fresh capital, it's probably a better decision. But that's besides the point. One interesting thing that I thought is 2 months ago, we were talking about how we're 100x away by just a 10x of pTGC and a 10x of PulseChain.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, pTGC has done a 5x. We've already hit halfway of our milestone of pTGC for our community members to get 100x. And that's just a milestone. Obviously, we could do much more. That ain't no finish line. But I think milestones are important. Like, we set this goal, like, hey, we want to do a 10x against PulseChain. If PulseChain, when we're doing this 10x, does a 10x also, our community just did 100x. The pTGC community's already done half of this, which is just awesome. We've already done the 5x. We still have the 5x to go. It doesn't have to stop there. But I find that very, very interesting because without any help of PulseChain moving up, like for an example, the last time we did a 40x and PulseChain did a 4x, since our machine operates on all that motion, it helps us. But we're doing this just without the help of the motion of the blockchain. We're just doing it organically, which is just awesome to see that we've already done that 5x.
And then on top of everything, we strengthen PulseX liquidity, we strengthen Inc liquidity, we strengthen PHEX liquidity for this next movement to the upside in the whole ecosystem as well.
Correct. And we grew in holders, which means just more people winning. And we want everyone to, we want as many people to win as possible.
Speaking of winning, The Notorious One says that he noticed the PTGC game tickets have increased for the past 3 game sets, and he finds that interesting. So I'm buying a ticket. I just want to. I haven't done this in a while, and I see the most recent winner won 337,000 PGDC, which is about $30, and 10,000 Pulse right now is 33 cents. So I'm going to throw 10,000 Pulse at the game. Doesn't that Pulse get burned? Is it all the Pulse that gets burned?
No, the current game is a 50-50 raffle. So half of your Pulse is going towards the payout of the winner, and half of your Pulse is going to a buy and burn of pTGC. And then obviously you get your tickets, and the more tickets you have, you get put in the pool with everyone else that has tickets, and then the smart contract randomly picks a ticket, and the winner gets automatically distributed the pTGC.
Right on. Cool. Well, I can't actually finish the transaction because I have a USB mic and it's connected to where I connect my wallet, so I'll just have to do that later. But thanks, the Notorious One, for bringing that up, because I don't go play the game. But
yeah, we are making a change to the game. I don't know when it's going to be done. We're working on it.
Yay.
And, it's going to make it to where the spread of the raffle is a little bit different, to where a portion of the raffle goes into the next raffle. So it's going to always incentivize the next game to carry on. Making it so, right now, when the game ends after 3 days, it takes someone to start the next game and start getting the raffle tickets going. And then that usually builds momentum, and, then more people will get in. Well, we're hoping with this little small change to the game in the future, it starts the game up with some sort of pot there to where you can get into the raffle just by yourself, and you're not just playing the game with yourself, ultimately.
Okay.
Because if you just played the game with yourself, you would lose 50% of your funds. They would go to the debt address, and then you would obviously buy 50% PTGC and you would get it. But in this way, even if you just bought one ticket and let's say there was a pot, well, then you would still win because you would be the one that got that remaining pot.
Okay. Yeah. Something tells me that there's more that's going to be built on this ecosystem. I mean, because we have a game already. We have 2 fabulous tokens, and we could do so much more. I already have ideas, but I'm sure I'm not the only one with ideas of people that can actually build things. But yeah, I think there's more coming for this ecosystem. It's just not going to be today.
Yeah, that's kind of, I've been getting a lot of messages kind of about that, because there's stuff coming out all the time. And I guess speaking out loud is, I strongly believe a lot of people will try to build stuff on this ecosystem. And I want to put it out there as a disclaimer. That doesn't mean my team or me has any affiliation with these products whatsoever.
Yes.
People can build on top of anything. People can say whatever they want to say. So if it's not coming out of my mouth, please don't listen to what other people are saying and speaking for me. It actually gets quite annoying when people speak for me. So if you do have a question for me, if I am involved with something, I don't see a reason why I wouldn't talk about it. So it's pretty obvious. Look at my Twitter feed, what I speak for. It's pTGC and UFO.
Right.
In all the other children.
Just kidding. Yeah, we do have other amplifiers: Burn, Liquid, ENRG, 808. But we all know that the main tokens that have a lot of effort put towards them, a lot of code, and when I say effort, a lot of code, a lot of mechanics, are pTGC and UFO. That's why it's mostly on my feed. That's where a lot of liquidity is, real liquidity. And liquidity is important. because that makes it actually have value.
And is not pTGC the mothership? It's the one that gets talked about the most. I feel like UFO is kind of like the forgotten little brother a lot, especially recently. I think it'll come back around and be in the limelight, but right now, the limelight's shining on pTGC. I think just because of its performance.
Oh, of course, pTGC is going to have the limelight right now. Even like a month ago, UFO was getting a lot of attention because it was having green candles.
Yes.
pTGC was in a consolidation phase, and everyone's like, "Oh, why are we only talking about UFO?" It's just like, well, that's what everyone's talking about right now. But right now, pTGC has a lot of momentum, and a lot of people are loving to talk about pTGC, which I think makes perfect sense. I literally had someone saying, like, why are you talking about this thing when it's up so high? It's like, guys, I've been talking about this thing for 11 months straight on the worst days, on the best days, every single day. So I definitely should be able to be allowed to talk about it on its good days at least. My God. Like, let me have something.
Yeah. Well, does anybody on YouTube, thank you for being here, by the way. Does anybody have any questions? Pop them in the chat and we'll ask them on the founder. I'll either answer them or we'll ask. And anybody on Twitter also, if you want to raise your hand and ask any questions, bring up topics. If you want to talk about something, raise your hand and we'll give you the mic if you don't have it already.
What's up, Mando?
Hey, did you notice that the UI on the site is now fixed for the burn?
I did notice that. I brought up to my team that because if anyone doesn't notice, we found PulseChain wasn't populating for some reason for a little bit, and then our UI was operating off of PulseChain, which was making it so our UI was flatlined, even though that wasn't the case. And I let them know, like, hey, I kind of waited 4 days hoping PulseChain would start operating again, and it doesn't look like it's operating. So for now, let's just take this down. But right when I said that, of course, let me eat my words. It starts working again, and there goes PulseChain working again. So, or I haven't verified PulseChain's working again, but either they switched its route, so it's pulling from somewhere else and PulseChain's still broken, or PulseChain's working again. I need to verify with them what we ended up doing. Because our burnt supply, like if you scroll down on the stats page, there's just that number that always shows like the upgrowing amount of burnt supply, Mando. Yep. That was always populating correctly. So they were fetching the data from the correct place there, but for some reason on the burn chart, it was pulling from PulseChain, and obviously that wasn't working. It's still not working. Maybe they just rerouted it to wherever that other box was getting the data from.
Looks like it's working now. The numbers are identical.
Hey, I wanted to say something kind of funny, but do you know Senzu? Or everybody knows. You know Senzu, right?
Yes.
So he made a tweet the other day, and I thought it was kind of funny, but it looked like the same kind of video that we had for the front page of the pTGC website of the alien with the coin and whatever. Uh-huh. And he has the same kind of video showing like X, Y, and I was like, is that a copycat? Since the best thing that came out of Zen was pTGC.
Well, no. So what it is that's like the generic video that you can buy for like $20 on websites, and then you can throw your logo in it. So that was the video.
You are a funny motherfucker, Coach.
Hey, I have to point out stuff when I need to point out stuff, you know.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Zen.
Okay. So what I was saying was
I cannot hear Zen talking.
Yeah, he's talking.
drop down. Can you ask? Oh, okay, he dropped down. Hopefully he requests to speak again. But what I was saying, Coach, can you hear me, Coach?
Yep.
Oh, so that video you can buy online for $20, and then you can just throw your logo in it. But that's what I used as the reference to this video animation guy that I hired. And I told him, hey, I don't want like this alien head that's not a gray alien. So can you do this? But we want a gray alien, you know. So I obviously paid the guy to make it to where the alien was relevant to our protocol instead of just some random looking alien. So that's why it looks the same. It's because that's what I based our animation off of, as far as
Hey, just let me just have my like honey badger sense right there.
I'm just protecting you. I'm just protecting you so you don't honey badger out on someone, and then he's like, "Whoa, man! I just bought this little animation for $20. I don't know what you're talking about." But yeah,
It was just kind of funny. I was just like, oh, okay. Copycats? I'm just kidding.
but yeah, I definitely had to put the twist on it to fit our theme with the gray alien, not a like Alien versus Predator kind of style alien. I think that's like more what that one is.
But Mando, like, have you honestly seen another protocol here on PulseChain adding the amount of liquidity with RH tickers, especially like for like the projects that got SAC funds of multi-million dollars, and they're not kind of like doing the same things that we are doing currently?
No, this is a very unique situation. It's a very unique protocol, and it's a bet on RH's ecosystem. From one vantage point, it is a bet on RH's ecosystem. But as you can see, and especially for people who've been here, pretty much from the beginning, you've witnessed the mechanics, which are real mechanics. They're not fake mechanics. They're not made up mechanics. They're not, they're real technical mechanics that are run by smart contracts that do very specific things, right? So it is an innovation on blockchain, and it's exclusive to PulseChain. But you can see, if you've been here taking the journey, that even with like what Hayden was saying earlier, even with PulseChain in a negative sentiment environment right now for multiple reasons, the system is outperforming everything phenomenally. It's even outperforming it while early holders have taken massive amounts of profits. Many of them sold way too early. My brother-in-law was one of them. He's literally in like Uber Megatron coke mode. My brother-in-law, my poor brother-in-law. And so many others have sold way too early. But the other thing that I think is interesting is the fact that, look at how many people are in here. Now, I've been around for a long time. And whether you're on Sol, whether you're on BNB, whether you're on Tron, whether you're on ETH or Base or whatever, there is not another technology on a blockchain like this. And I've challenged my peers, and you guys know this because I put the challenge out there for, I think, 5 months now. And there's just nothing like it. It's audited, it works perfectly. And so as an investor, for me personally, you know, when this hit my desk, and then I've been able to witness it, it's been very powerful to watch, to read a light paper, to understand the concept intellectually on paper, and then to be able to see it actually work in the real world on a blockchain. That's unique to cryptocurrency. You have to admit, that is an interesting experience within cryptocurrency. You don't, in general, every white paper I've ever read, it's always a hope, wish, and a prayer roadmap type of a thing. It's just a unicorn on a piece of paper. That's all that it is. But when you go through the light paper of pTGC and UFO, it takes actually about 15 to 20 minutes to just kind of go through it properly. Then you're saying, wow, that was a beautiful read. I feel very equipped to understand what this is designed to do. Now let me watch it do what it's going to do. And we've been able to see astronomical results against the underlying liquidity pools of the RH ecosystem, even in a very negative environment right now. It is outperforming everything, and it has made their earlier holders very wealthy already, very wealthy. So the fact that we're sitting at, you know, when I say we, I just mean the protocol, $25 million market cap. And all the system is doing for the community right now, all the system is doing for you through smart contracts is continuing to add value to your holdings. Because with every buy and sell, and with every transfer, and with every claim, and with every withdrawal, your tokens are becoming more rare against the value of the underlying liquidity pools. There's nothing like this. I've never seen anything like this. The fact that the system is able to monetize volatility and monetize and capitalize on the volume of the underlying blockchain's liquidity pools, pull that back into its holders in a deflationary asset on a blockchain like Richard Hart's blockchain, which truly is a next generation version of Ethereum, which is much more decentralized. It's much more robust in a lot of ways. It's literally got a God tier node structure and RPC structure. It's phenomenal. So I'm very impressed, and people need to share it that way in crypto right now. Like, pTGC can't be shared like some bullshit shitcoin. You should be studying it. You should be able to articulate it if you're serious about what you're looking at and you want to share. Spend some time with the light. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Spend some time there, because not only will it help you get yourself super informed about what you're seeing and how it works, but you can properly articulate it to others without any of the BS hype gig of this, you know, the normal crypto bullshit talk, right? So I love what has been designed. There's obviously a lot of people that have, you know, latched on to pTGC with these side things, but pTGC is the bee's knees. It is in a class of its own. It is the triple A bond. It is the triple A derivative. You can't get any more bullish than on pTGC. It is my favorite token on any blockchain currently right now. I've been looking for a reason why not to buy more, even though I own a shitload of it. It just never comes. I'll just leave it there.
And on top of that, pTGC is the cat's meow. I don't know if you use that term, but.
And Prairie, let me speak to this real quick because you brought up UFO. You know,
Please.
UFO is also, you know, and I gotta give it to you, Zen, because you're a smart son of a bitch. You know, I love it when personalities, like, you can see the different gifts that a person has.
Mm-hmm.
Zen has a very unique gift when it comes to designing things that create value. And you can see it in both designs in the pTGC and UFO protocols that also work synergistically with one another. And I think the lag of UFO just has to do with the fact that, you know, number one, you know, that a lot of people, they've never even provided liquidity before, right? So the fact that it's a provide liquidity incentivized protocol, it's a farming protocol from that vantage point, some people might shy away from a little bit. But a lot of people don't really realize you can just buy the token and just earn more UFO. You don't ever have to utilize the UI to provide liquidity within the protocol. You can just own the token and hold it and ride it up, right? And it is a hyper deflationary token, just like pTGC. But I think that once, just like in Hex, where early on we had all of a sudden, you know, a certain amount of time in, people started to design like D-Bank and what was the other one that we used? All these different websites for pulling all these different metrics. But Prairie, you'd be a perfect example of this, where when the volume and the liquidity on PulseChain boom, when everything begins to pick up and you have the velocity of money X'd on the chain, the share rates of UFO are going to become very valuable, because as the price of UFO continues to go up, you can only pair it with Hex, P-Hex, you know, the RH tickers in PDI and pTGC. But as UFO goes up, that means you have to either own it, but you also have to own the other side if you want to own LP. So locking in share rates now, even though the volume may be low, is what makes people a ton of money later, in my opinion, because when the volume picks up and the prices of those tokens go up, and you know how quickly this happens, guys. If you look at crypto, if you study any legitimate cryptos, in general, it'll be flatlined, and then boom, you'll see a 400% move within 2, 3, 4 weeks. And what that means is it's going to cost you 2, 3, 4, 500% more to buy PDI or Hex or Ink or whatever you want to pair UFO with. And then all of a sudden, Prairie comes out and says, dude, look at what each share is worth, and look at what each share is pumping out in PulseChain every day, right? So that's what people really aren't seeing right now, because it's that kind of that, you're kind of in that get in your position mode. But when it goes, I think it's going to go boom. And that only is going to make pTGC go boom. And they're all heavily bonded together.
Yeah, and let me just add to that, just a broader overview about like the metrics with liquidity. So I'm going to paint you guys a picture. So PulseChain let's just say PulseChain just does a 2x from this position. So what's going to actually happen? PulseChain does a 2x. So that liquidity pool with Pulse and UFO goes from 500K to 1 million. The same kind of construct is going to happen to PulseX. The same thing's going to happen to Inc. The same thing's going to happen to PHEX. The same thing's going to happen to EHEX. So those measures of the floor rising in comparison to the whole market conditions is going to bring up UFO, period. If you understand Hart's Law, and I'm a very big advocate of Hart's Law, and I understand liquidity to the T, like UFO is going to be a whale's dream at the end of the day. And if you understand those type of numbers, if you actually provide those kind of like liquidities right now and in parity to like the whole overall market, like a 2x of like, if you really think about it, if you have a $1,000 liquidity pool, let's just say that $1,000, everything goes up 2x in comparison to Pulse and PulseX and Inc. and everything. That metric of numbers, your UFO share is going to be worth about, give or take, if I want to put my numbers to the correct, it's going to be about like maybe about 3 to 4x of that same kind of position in the future. And people don't really understand that metric. And at the same time, you're earning Pulse rewards. Of course, you have to go through the D app and everything, but it's just like you're earning Pulse, and at the same time, UFO is going up in price because of Hart's Law of the liquidity share, which internally is making that position more. And of course, everybody can like say like impermanent loss and you're losing your UFO, but at the end of the day, it's just like, what if you are earning so much Pulse a day and doing it better than kind of like a PulseChain validator? It's like, well, what do you think is actually ultimately going to be happening in the future when Pulse is 10, 20, 50, 100x from this position? It's just like those numbers are just mind-boggling that so really don't understand.
So the interesting piece to this is that let's throw away Hart's Law. Because right now, Hart's Law is taking everybody in the negative direction. If you're bonded to PulseChain or Richard Hart things, we're literally going down, right? But pTGC and UFO are going up, and so it just breached a $4 million market cap and hit a new all-time high. UFO did. We're going, we're not even at a new all-time high with pTGC. But here's the kicker: UFO just hit a $4 million market cap. It wasn't a $3 million market cap when it hits a $5 million market cap. Now, if you want to utilize UFO and earn that passive yield, like farmers are with PulseX and earning Inc., except for they're doing it here with Pulse, you're going to have to provide the same amount of liquidity on the other side of UFO. But if UFO keeps going from a 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million, $10 million market cap, that means you're going to have to buy that much more PEX, PulseChain, PulseX, whatever, especially if it's not going up in value. So you have to, what's happening now is that the people that are locking in those share rates now are in a very good place when you kind of have that insta 200 to 300, 400% pop that starts to run. Because those individuals are already locked in, they just made all that yield, and they're not going, oh shit, I've got the UFO, but I didn't have the PDI or the HEX, or I didn't lock in the rate. Now, if you already have RH tickers, and PDI or whatever else, if you already just have it in your wallet sitting there and you have your UFO, well, you're good then. But you're still not good in the sense that if UFO keeps running against those tickers, it's going to cost you more money in those tickers to pair it, whatever amount you want to do with UFO. And I don't think that we're going to see, until the underlying assets of the RH ecosystem turn around, I don't think we're going to see UFO and pTGC over periods of time, over a trend line. I don't mean they can go up and they can go down. I don't think you're going to see it be outperformed by PulseChain or RH tickers right now. So it is running away from, if you aren't LP, just like the T-share rate of Hex is running away from people if they own Hex and aren't staked.
Yeah, I agree on that point. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, so now would be the time if you were considering to lock in share rates, because if you're not locking in share rates now, you could end up with a situation where you actually have to buy more of the other side later, because the price of UFO is moving away from those tickers faster.
And like in consideration with PGC, is more and more PGC goes up in value, UFO is also going to be moving up in value as well too. Considering talking about Hart's Law and everything. So
correct. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I think that both are amazing, and they're very unique. See Ian in here. What's up, brother? What's up, Ian? And I think the time's of the essence. I was doing a market analysis today, and I really am thinking that October is going to be the turnaround between now. As a matter of fact, it could be any moment. We could be turning around right now. But I think between now and October, the entire market sees a turnaround, barring anything crazy. And that would exemplify what I would consider to be a regular cycle movement, based off the fact that we front ran the halving with a new all-time high, but then it came back for 2 months, 2.5 months, which is really what we wanted. So even for pTGC, like the fact that the protocol, in my belief, the protocol is doing everything it can to take advantage of these low prices now, because when Ethereum goes, and I actually think that Ethereum is probably going to hit in the 13,000 range this cycle. And I think that Bitcoin's probably going to go into about the 150 to 170,000. So that's where I personally think it's going to go. And when that happens, the PulseChain ecosystem is going to go with it, in my opinion. But it's going to be vast, you know. In terms of the first push, in general, it's 300 to 400% within weeks. So all of a sudden, it goes, and everybody who was sleeping on it, and everybody who wasn't buying when they should be buying, you know, and this isn't financial advice, I'm just talking in general now. Like, you normally want to buy when the blood and guts are everywhere.
Yep.
All of a sudden, it's up a 4x, and you're like, shit, I missed it.
well, that's like in the same kind of like retrospect of like in regards to PGC, going back to about like March 7th, March 8th, like the final wick of like PulseChain. PulseChain moved about, I want to give or take like 60 to 70%, and PGC did the same exact number on that day. And people are taking profits during that time of that high point of PulseChain. And like if PulseChain moves 100% tomorrow, hypothetically, not financial advice, pTGC will move up another like magnitude of numbers. And
you remember, Coach, in December when Richard did the video and then there was an influx of about 17 million. The move was 3 weeks, and it went up almost 400%.
Yep.
3 weeks.
And like people don't understand, like from the beginning of January to the like March 8th period, pTGC went up on the weekly 9 weeks of green. 9 with people taking profits and all that consideration. So it's just like people just don't understand the power of liquidity and Hart's Law, because I'm a big advocate of Hart's Law. And it's just like,
Here's the thing though, man. You can have liquidity, but if no one's buying your token, your shit's not going to go up.
No,
Mando. If you're bonded, hold on a minute.
Mando.
Hold on a
Mando.
minute. Coach, hold on a minute. I want to finish my thought. You can pair yourself with something, and your thing may not be getting purchased. And if the thing you're bonded with is going up, yes, it's going to pull you up. It's going to pull you up, okay? But if there's no mechanics, if there's nothing more than just the bonding of the liquidity, right? To me, that's not a recipe for massive gains.
Agreed.
Because
for the tokenomics, the PGC, buy and burns and all that kind of consideration.
1,000. You're just a regular token being pulled up by something else that's outpacing you. That's it. Right? So that's the unique thing about this ecosystem. You don't just have the bonded liquidity piece. You have real innovation behind it as well.
Yeah, 100%. I agree on that. And like once people actually understand what is actually happening and going on, like think about this. I think there's about 5 different proposals, and every single proposal has 100 million pulse coming out of it. And if you really think about that, and you think about the future of possibilities, like how much pulse is going to be coming to the DAO to do buy and burns, to add more liquidity, to do all these things to benefit the holders of pTGC.
I believe we'll see billions of pulse per day. We're already seeing hundreds. We're already seeing hundreds of millions per day. Right now, we're seeing 130, 150 million, 100 million a day with nominal volume, 100,000, 150,000 in volume. So imagine, you got the price going up, you got the deflationary going up, the volume massively picks up. It goes from 100,000, 150,000, where you're taking in the revenues 100 million, 150 million PulseChain a day, whatever it is. Obviously, as the price of PulseChain goes up, you'll get a little bit less, but the volume picks up. But I could definitely see to where, you're doing 500 million, 800 million a day.
And we can actually see that actually already happened back when the volume was about like 1 million. I think the highest volume day of PGC was 1.4 million. And if you actually realize 2% of that goes to our DAO, and 7 days later, guess what happened? It was a buy and burn. It was a LP ad, and it like nothing, $0 went to TGZen, $0 went to any part of the team, $0 went to marketing, $0 went to everything, and all the marketing too as well, guys, like came from community members or individuals that just understood how to build things. as well, and what the dynamic of doing said things as well. So just understand that too.
Zen, you want to chime in here?
Yeah, I guess going to the Hart's Law thing, what you're saying is like any token bonded with another token, if one goes up, the other goes up. The reason this usually doesn't happen is because usually one side of the pair has no longevity or real value. So if you have a pair and something's paired with PLS, PLS goes up 100%, and this whatever token, let's call it CAT token goes up 100%. Most people do not understand how liquidity pools work, so they think their CAT token is up 100%, which it is up 100% in USD form, but it's actually the exact same price as far as Pulse goes. So then they go and they trade their CAT token for Pulse, ending up with the exact same amount of Pulse that they would have gotten if they just traded it, the 2 days earlier before PulseChain was up 100%. What this usually equals is then Pulse goes up and CAT token goes down because the general public doesn't understand liquidity pools. They think they're up on their money. They're really not up on their money. It's just the fact PulseChain goes up. Then they sell the CAT token down, and CAT token's down and PulseChain's up. And it's a losing protocol. The Hart's Law never worked. This is 99.9% of crypto. This isn't just PulseChain. This is Ethereum. This is Solana. This is every token ever, pretty much. If you don't have the tokenomics to outperform the gas token, you are letting it drag you up, but then the people sell it back down and you never actually see the gains. But where we actually get to take advantage of this as pTGC, since we have tokenomics that are outpacing the gas token, we get to use Hart's Law as an amplifier, as a multiplier to our ecosystem. So instead of it just bringing us up and then people sell it back down, we actually use it to bring us up, and then also we go up on our own, being able to multiply our X's by the blockchain's X's. And that's where real gains are made. If you even look at the Hex run up, Hex multiplied the X's that they were doing by the X's Ethereum did. Not all those X's were done by Hex itself. A portion of those X's were due because of Ethereum going up in price and them able to multiply the X's of Ethereum by the X's of their token because they had a token that had product market fit and tokenomics, a buy and burn built into the system. Now inflation's coming out, but in the mix, people were actually staking their Hex. So there was a burn happening. If you don't have these mechanics, it's all just nonsense. You need the mechanics to work to actually capitalize on these systems. That's really it. I guess another thing, back to your UFO topic, if you don't mind me rewinding.
Sure.
Most people don't understand liquidity, and that's okay. The cool thing about UFO is you can actually participate in the ecosystem as just a holder. And the awesome thing about that is all the people who do understand liquidity are working for your bags for you. Yes, they are earning additional APR, which they deserve to, because they're going a step further in the system, but you can actually sit comfortably on the sideline, holding your tokens, not interacting with liquidity pools, not interacting with smart contracts, just sitting there. And all the other people in UFO, not all, but a lot of the other people who do understand the system are now using their money to increase your APY, to increase the value of the underlying asset via buy and burns, because they're adding to the liquidity web, making it so the arbitrage bots need to move more money. And they're helping make PulseChain a better environment. And I say that because it's literally sucking up RH ecosystem tokens and putting them to work. And now these people necessarily might not need to sell as many of their RH tokens because they're earning APY in a trustless way off of their RH tokens. So they might get 6 months down the road and be like, wow, look at all this pulse I made. I actually don't need to sell all this hex that I've been locked in this liquidity pool with UFO. It's not locked, but sitting in this liquidity pool. I was going to take profits with that hex this bull run, but now I've made all this pulse. I can actually just let that hex continue to work for me, because now I don't need that as part of my exit bag. So now that helps with the sell pressure on the RH ecosystem, because people are using their RH ecosystem tokens to earn them more money. No one ever becomes wealthy in this world and says, okay, I got all this money, I'm just going to throw it in the bank and do nothing for it. No, instantly they find a way to use their money to work for them, because now their money is earning them money and they cannot have to trade their time for money anymore. If you can get your money to make you money, you now free your time. And now you get to spend time with your family and your friends and do whatever you want to do. Coach loves to golf. Now Coach can golf all the time. You don't need to use your time as your form of currency. You're using what you've earned to make you money, ultimately. And I'll leave it at that. But what I was getting at is, just by holding UFO, you get to actually capitalize on the ecosystem quite a bit. And a lot of people actually miss that part.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come up, Prayer, you got something?
Nope, I don't. I'm glad you're inviting people to come up and make a final comment, question, or plug, because we are at an hour and a half.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, Q&A, we're going to shut it down here pretty quickly. Just raise your hand if you want to make a comment, have a question. If not, we'll start to wind it down.
And we hold these spaces twice a week. Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern and Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So you have two chances every week. Jump in and talk to the founder and other holders. So if you can't get your question in tonight, you have another chance on Saturday. And we're doing this twice a week. And there's always a Telegram too.
Tropa, if you have a question, shoot your question. If not, we're gonna shut it down.
Thank you, boss. Actually, it's one for you. Actually, there's two parts. Yes, no, was it when B-Roots was there a few days ago? Somebody mentioned that if you lock up your tokens, you actually earn less than if you just stake. Is that true? Somebody said that, I heard.
No.
No.
Absolutely not. It all works in a tier system. If you're just holding, you don't make as much as staking. If you're staking, you make more than holding. If you're locking, you make more than staking and holding. You'll never make less.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. And one more thing, I heard Coach X talk about collateralizing pTGC. There's like something in the works, sort of like liquid loans or something, or what's the equivalent on Ethereum? Liquidity. Is there something? Do you know anything about that, or is there something we could think about?
I know nothing about it, but Coach is up here, so
I just don't want to get rid of my pTGC. Literally nothing. I just want to keep collecting, and that's if there was
like
something
said,
to like that.
I don't know anything about it, but Coach is right here. He can tell you what he's talking about.
What's the question again?
That you're talking about some.
You mentioned something about some kind of like lending protocol for pTGC. You mentioned something like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago. I heard it.
Well, like, this is the thing. Like, at the end of the day, like, pTGC can build out whatever it wants. If you really think about the dynamics of pTGC and the future that could possibly actually happen, like, if you really think about it, this is just like, I've been doing a lot of research and homework and all that kind of stuff on this sense, but like, literally, like, if you really think about it, like when Richard Hart talks about like hex and being a collateralization for like DAI, that's a possibility of itself. And then at the same kind of construct, like
anything in particular, Coach? I think was Petropa's question. Not
well, like
just conceptual, but
like no. So like I think I think I was talking about like in the future, like if there was a mechanism or if there was a thing that we wanted to build out, like having a stable coin collateralized by pTGC, like in the future, and once those things could possibly happen. And if you really think about that as well, it's just like the future can, like anything can be built around pTGC in that kind of like mindset. The same kind of theory of like anything is possible. That's what I was saying.
So anything can be built on top of anything. Anything that the founder of pTGC puts out, it will be deployed and shouted out if anything ever happens directly from him and the socials. Anything else that you hear from Coach or GuGod or any of other guys, it's, that's other people building their own thing, right? So just know that if it's not UFO or pTGC, it's not from the pTGC official ecosystem. I think Zen already said that at the beginning of the show, but I guess this is a good place to say that too.
Yeah, I'm actually probably going to put a tweet out about this because I've just been asked so much about stuff lately. But real quick, pTGC is 100% finished code.
Exactly.
UFO is 100% finished code. Down the line, anyone, any community member, any builder, even me as just a person, if I want to build something that benefits or helps pTGC, I could. If Coach wanted to, he could. But that ultimately has nothing to do with the code of pTGC itself. And I always want to just go back to that because that's the most important thing is the code of pTGC, the mechanics of pTGC are 100% finished and UFO is 100% finished. And if I have any involvement in something, I will come out and say I have involvement in this.
Yeah, so you guys know that any time you have something that's successful, you see it in the meme coin shit all the time. One meme pump's called Sally Sue, and then 49 Sally Moo and Sally Do and Sally Foo pop up, right? So it's just a way to monetize energy. But you've got to understand that even on PulseChain, people want to monetize the pTGC energy, but that doesn't mean that they're within the mechanics of pTGC. Very, very important to understand that. And that's not just whatever Coach was talking about, and Coach can build on top of it, or Hayden can, or I can, or anybody can. That's just in general.
Yeah, so I guess that being said is one day Coach might build something for that. But, I don't know. Coach couldn't speak on that.
I just like, given the chart, it's like there's almost no liquidations, given the pTG's chart, and you just keep minting that stable. So Coach may be onto something, and you just, instead of selling pTGC, you could just mint, collateralize pTGC, always going up.
My issue with it at Tropa would be this, because I'm very familiar with how liquid loans and the Liquidity protocol work on Ethereum. My issue with trying to monetize it or collateralize it, basically what that means is that you're just basically trying to use it as collateral to turn it into a loan. Okay? And then number one, most people, if they don't know what they're doing, and number two, there's no oracle on PulseChain that really works for these types of systems right now. But even if there was, you face the real reality of basically leaving your position in order to mint a stable coin. But with pTGC and UFO, there's a 5% and a 6% fee. So on top of, for example, when I go to Liquid Loans, or when I go over to Power City to do the same thing with PulseX, I have to do that. I have to over collateralize my position to take out a loan, and then I have to worry about whether or not I'm getting liquidated or not if I don't have large enough of a spread between what I have on collateral and if the price ever goes down sharply, right? But on top of that, now I have to eat 5 or 6% of my bag just to move it into that situation.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that.
Fee on that. I would if I have $10 million worth of pTGC, why the hell would I need to take out a loan? Like, and if I have $100,000, am I going to eat 5% just to move it in to try and collateralize a position where I could potentially even get liquidated and just to be sitting in stables? I would rather just buy the stables. That's
good point. Good point. Thanks.
So unless something could be created to where you could use pTGC and UFO as collateral without paying the tax, that would not interest me. That's just my personal thought on that question, Atropo. Anybody else? Great question. Great questions, Atropo. Thank you. You always have some funny stuff and some great questions. Appreciate you. Prairie, got anything else? Last words?
Well, I think it was a good meeting. I think it's always good to meet, give people an opportunity to listen in to a conversation. What happens is I know what happens because I've been there. When you just come into a community, to an ecosystem, if you're like me, you're like just hungry for content. Thankfully, we have a lot of it here, and we meet 2 times a week. So I'm thankful to be able to satisfy, as much as we were able to this evening, some people's itch for conversation about the tokens, A, that we love, or B, that we love and are still trying to learn about. So with that, if anybody doesn't have any final comments, we'll just go ahead and shut it down and meet again on Saturday.
Ian, appreciate you coming in here and just sitting in here giving us some juice, brother.
Yes.
Showing up, man. Atropa, thanks. Coach, thanks for showing up. And
Zen.
Yeah. Zen, of course. He doesn't count, man. Zen doesn't count. Like, come on,
He is the reason we are all here. Oh, yeah.
You know we all love Zen, man.
Yeah, we do. All right.
Guys, have a blessed night. Appreciate you all for coming in. We'll see you guys on Saturday. And you got any questions or comments or need anything, just hit everybody up in the TG.
There you go. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for showing up.
Alien night.
And on YouTube, thank you for being here. We'll see you again on Saturday.